Hello again. In this video we want to finish making our movie GUI interactive. Where we left off at the end of last time was our GUI had the ability to pop up to open files, pop up the list, and when we selected items from the list, they were put into the other fields that we had. And we can see what this looks like when we run it. We have the ability to open our data file, and as we click on things, the values change. What does not happen currently is that if I change this to Bambi 2 and hit enter, tab off, do whatever, nothing changed. So for one thing, the text over here didn't change for it being the redo of the title, and nothing else. My input over here is not connected over to that, and so that's something that we need to change, because when we save, we would like for our changes to go into effect. So we saw last time that in order to deal with things that the user is doing, we need to listen to various publishers, and then we have to add reactions into there. And so in the case of these different fields, I want to make it so that so that we can listen to the text fields, and as changes are made, those get put back into the appropriate movie. So how are we going to do that? Well, start with the title field and at least make it so that the changes get remembered. So what we need to do here is we need to alter one of the elements in movies. First we need to listen to, and we are going to listen to the text field itself. So we're going to listen to this, and we're going to add into our reactions a case for, now in this, you can go through the API and look at the different things that are in there. We want to listen to edit done. That event happens when you hit enter, when you tab off of something. There are also things for key pressed, key typed, but it turns out we don't really care about most of the keys that are typed. The text field is handling that automatically for us. It's automatically building up the text. All that we care about is when they signify that they are done editing the text field, that we save whatever value is there over inside of the movie. And so in order to do this, I want to first figure out what index it is that they have selected. And so I'm going to selection.leadIndex. And then I want to store that value from the text, which is how I can reference the text in our text field. I want that to become the title in the appropriate movie. Now remember that case classes are immutable. So I need to change to update the movie at that index to be the movie at that index with a different title. So dot copy where title equals text. If we save that and we come over here, there is no just selection, movie list dot selection. Wow, that was an impressive set of errors, wasn't it? Recursive value text, line 14. Yes, this is an understandable problem here. And I'm trying to decide. There are multiple ways that we could fix this. Let's go ahead and go with a selected index. I considered doing that before. We're going to start it off being -1, and when you make a selection, make it equal to the lead index on the selection. And then instead of just index, we can use selected index here. Not only does this get rid of problems that we had with circularity, one of the things that I was skipping over in the previous video and earlier was the fact that it is possible to set the selection so that nothing is selected. We still have a potential bug with that right here, but it was something that I was going to demonstrate as being a problem later on. And I have a typo. DX. Movies, plural. Not found. Selected. Okay, after taking out all of the typos, and now if I go to Bambi 2 and I hit enter, now notice it didn't change the list, but when I go back to Bambi it's updating as Bambi 2. And it turns out that in the case of the title, and only the title, we will need to take the additional step of setting the movie list's list data equal to movies mapped onto title. Okay, so we're going to pull off all the titles, exactly what we did when we first created this, and set that to be the list data. Okay. And so now it will update, and we'll see that the next time that we run this. So what about the year field? Well, the year field is going to look remarkably similar, so we can actually copy and paste the 6 lines from inside of title field. We'll listen to this, we have reactions, we'll deal with the edit done. In this case though, instead of setting the title, we want to set year, and it needs to be the text.toInt, because year is an integer. We can't set it equal to just the text, and we don't need to update the list data because the year does not appear over there. Because it is more similar, I'm going to skip briefly the combo box and go down to the description area. Once again, we listen to it. In the case of edit done, we set description equal to the text. We should go ahead and run that to make sure that we haven't broken things, which obviously we have. Line 16. This is having, once again, okay, so this is a problem with the recursive referencing. In case you're wondering what's going on here, remember that when you write functions, the one time when you have to specify a type on the function is when the function type is recursive. or when the function is recursive and it calls itself, and so Scala needs to know the return type because otherwise it can't figure it out. We're having that same problem here, though there are no functions here. So you might wonder what it is. Well, the problem here is that movie list has an aspect of it that refers to title field, and inside of title field it has an aspect that refers back to movie list. And so when Scala is trying to figure out what's going on here, this winds up being circular and it gets confused. And one way that we can deal with this is just to help Scala out a little bit and tell it what the title field, the type of the title field is, and that allows it to figure out what's going on. So if we open that, now if we make this Bambi 2, and when I tab off of it, you can see that list gets updated. Bambi 2, I have no idea when that came out. Notice that the year has been updated. So we can put in some additional text there. Now you'll note what happened on that one. And it's an interesting question of why did that happen. Testing, testing. If I click here and then I come back, it's still gone. So the assumption that edit done is a perfectly happy thing to listen to, that works well on the text field, but apparently it's not happening on our text area. So when in doubt, print the event. So if we come in here, when I clicked off, that's what I want. And in this case, there is no edit done. It's not possible to get an edit done from the text area. There's a focus lost, and that's the only event that tells us that something changed. So we'll just alter edit done to focus lost here. And that will be what signifies to us that we need to save the description inside of the text area. So what about the combo box? Here again, we have this little problem that it's not immediately obvious what type of event is going to be fired. Now, we've already seen there was a selection when we were looking in the API earlier, and we should go and pull that back up. Our combo box has a selection in it, and that selection is a publisher. So it seems reasonable that we should be listening to the selection and then possibly getting the index or the item out of it. And so if we come into here, we're going to listen to selection. The reactions, well, what is that going to fire? Once again, when in doubt, the guess is it will probably be a selection changed, but we don't necessarily know. Turns out that I don't even have to open the file here. Indeed, it's just a selection change. So we can listen for that, and when it comes up, we can do a copy. Now it's not text.toInt, but selection.item. If we come back over here and we run this, at least it selection dot item. What is our type mismatch? Oh, is the item index would be an int. Item should wind up being a string for this combo box. And it found a string, oh, because I didn't change what we were setting. Now, if we open this, and for some reason the new version of Bambi is PG-13, we have this in here and we could save it. There is still some cleanup that needs to happen in this. For example, what happens if nothing is selected? Well, that isn't a huge problem for us here because we're saving that off. In fact, that was the reason for putting the integer selected index above. But we can still run into some problems right now by doing that. Okay. You can see that over here that we had an exception, and you can probably figure out what that exception is being caused by. It's an array index out of bounds exception, and the problem is that this value starts off as -1. And so that was the array index that we were using when you try to edit this text field. So it turns out that all of these could use having an if selected index is greater than or equal to 0 put around them to protect that from happening. And it also turns out that in the open file we should also set selected index back to -1 and possibly clear out all the values. So there is some more cleanup that could be done here, but what you have seen so far illustrates the main points for adding interactivity into GUIs. You can see how you listen to various things to get the events from them, and how you add reactions to the appropriate cases to make it so that things happen appropriately. So that's it for this video, and we'll see you soon.